Who is the best fighter for every attribute in the UFC? Now, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video where I basically showed different martial arts like wrestling and boxing, and I said who's the best fighter to represent that martial art. And we're going to be doing that very similar in this video, but instead of martial arts, we're going to be doing it about attributes. So things like chin and heart, things that can help a fighter in a fight, but doesn't actually have to directly be a martial art. So we're going to go in there quickly with chin. I think Max Holloway's got the best chin in the UFC. I mean, you look at the people he's fought. He's fought Volkanovski 3 times, Jose Aldo twice, Poirier twice, McGregor, Yair Rodriguez, Arnold Allen, Calvin Kattar, and he's never been dropped. To fight all of those people in lightweight and featherweight and never be dropped once is crazy. He's also, I believe he's taken the most significant strikes in the UFC. Again, still never been dropped. Holloway's got an insane chin. Now, some people would argue that Marvin Vettori should be up here. You know, the Cannonier fight and the Costa fight and even the Adesanya fight. But I don't think Vettori has fought nearly the level of opponents that Holloway has. Plus, he's in middleweight, which is in a much less competitive division than Holloway. So I'm going to say Holloway's got the best chin in the UFC. Even the third fight with Volkanovski, where he was getting like mauled on the feet and he still didn't drop. Arnold Allen, when he hit Arnold Allen at the end of the Arnold Allen fight, when Allen hit him, I think it was a right hooked right to the jaw, and Holloway just stayed up. Holloway's got the best chin in the UFC, in my opinion. Fought so many legends, taken so many strikes, hasn't ever really been rocked. It's very, very, very rare to see Holloway get rocked. Yeah, this guy's got an insane chin. We've seen a lot of chins get cracked in the UFC. Obviously, Jorge Masvidal against Usman, Tony Ferguson against Michael Chandler, but Holloway's yet to have his chin cracked, man. He's yet to have it. So I'm going to give the best chin to Holloway. I think a lot of people would agree with this. It helps him a lot, man. The amount of time, like, there's so many fighters, like, to not even be dropped. It's not even been knocked out. Like, he's never even been dropped by any of these people, which is insane. Like, Poirier twice, McGregor, like, the amount of people on this list is full of straight killers, and Holloway's not dropped or rarely been rocked by any of them, so you got to give him credit for that. Yeah, I'm going to say Max Holloway has the best chin in the UFC. There's a couple of contenders, like I said, people like Marvin Vettori, but I just don't think that they come close to Holloway in terms of chin. Much more competitive division, and you got to give Holloway, got to give him his respect. The guy just won't fall. You can hit him the hardest you've ever hit anyone, and the guy just stands there and stares at you with his little, where's he from? Hawaii, I think it is. I don't know, but yeah, best chin goes to Holloway. Next up, we've got power. Now, I did talk about this in a video a couple of days ago. I did the hardest hitters in the UFC, and I said that Derek Lewis hits the hardest, and I still think that. I mean, I explained it in the other video, but he's got terrible technique, terrible cardio, terrible grappling, and the only thing that's allowing him to stay in the UFC is his power. That's all he's got. All he can rely on is power. There's people with way better technique. His cardio is terrible. There's people with way better grappling. I mean, we saw the Sergey Spivak fight, but his power is the one thing that carries him. I think he's got the most power in the UFC. I think he's got more power than people like Pavlovich, because Pavlovich doesn't have one-shot done power. If you look at his fights with people like Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis and Taito Ivaza, Sergey Pavlovich tends to have a lot of volume and accuracy, which is why he's always able to knock fighters out. Whereas Derek Lewis, it's kind of more of a one-shot done. I mean, you look at them fight Curtis Blades, Derek Lewis just one uppercut, Curtis Blades is asleep, whereas Pavlovich is like multiple shots coming in. So the most power, I'm going to give it to Derek Lewis. 14 knockouts in the UFC, that's an insane amount of knockouts. You know, the Alexander Volkov fight as well, where Volkov was not battering him, but beating him the entire fight. And then right at the end of the fifth round, I think it was, Derek Lewis hits him and knocks him out cold. So Derek Lewis for me has the most power in the UFC. It is single-handedly carrying his career. If Derek Lewis didn't have power, he probably wouldn't even be in the UFC, never mind being close to the rankings. But yeah, Derek Lewis for the most power. It's hard to argue. Like I said, there's a lot of people at heavyweight with power, but I think you got to give it to Derek Lewis in this instance. Moving on, Dricus the African Duplessis. I will be the first African champion in the UFC. For me, Dricus du Plessis has the most heart. I think he's got the most heart in the UFC. He's very, very durable. We saw it against people like Derek Brunson, Darren Till, even in his early days, Brad Tavares. Derek Brunson, Dricus du Plessis, very durable, and he has a lot of heart. He fought, I believe, before the Robert Whittaker fight, he fought every other fight in the UFC with like a broken nose, which is very impressive. So you got to give him props for that. And the Robert Whittaker fight, everyone was counting him out. Everyone was saying Whittaker's going to batter it, including me. I thought Whittaker was going to win. A lot of people thought Whittaker was going to absolutely school Dricus du Plessis, and that just wasn't the case. Dricus du Plessis kind of just destroyed Whittaker, went against the odds. He will not give up. When I was watching him against Darren Till and Derek Brunson, I thought this guy looks terrible. He's got terrible cardio. He's very sloppy. But he's just got a lot of heart, man. A lot of fighters tend to kind of give up when it gets tough. If you look at a lot of fighters, especially in a division like middleweight, they tend to give up whenever they face any when it gets tough for them in the fight, they tend to kind of become worse or give up. Derek Brunson is not that type of guy. You're going to have to kill him to get rid of him. I think he's one of the toughest in the UFC right now. I think he's finished every single one of his wins. I think he's got like around 20 wins, and he's finished all of them but 2. Like in his MMA career, he's finished every fight but 2. I think he's only got 2 losses as well. But yeah, fought with disabled breathing, cannot be finished, high finish rate. I don't think he's ever been finished. He might have been finished once, but I don't know if he's even ever been finished. He's got a high finish rate himself, like I said, will not give up. I keep saying Derek Brunson. Dricus du Plessis, for me, has the most heart in the UFC. And that's how he's made it to a title fight. I mean, he's not actually fighting for the belt next because I think he's injured or something, but this guy, like I said, you're going to have to kill him to get rid of him. He will not give up. He's just got a lot of heart, man. Moving on. Speed. I'm going to give Brandon Moreno speed. First of all, he's in the flyweight division, which tends to be the fastest fighters in the UFC. Not really. Pretty much a no-brainer. He's a great boxer as well. I think he's one of the best boxers in flyweight. I think he's a much better boxer than Pantoja when they boxed, but obviously Pantoja had the power advantage. But when it comes to just speed, I think it's Brandon Moreno. He's very, very technical as well. If you look at his boxing, he's very technical with his boxing. And the thing is, he hits you before you even see it. That knockout when he was against, who was it, Kai Kara France, where he had that, was it a body shot? Where it just dropped Kai Kara France. Moreno's really good, man. He hits you before you even see it. Very, very fast. He's a midget as well, let's be honest, but very, very quick. That's the reason he kind of beat Pantoja on the feet for a little while. His shots aren't as effective as some fighters because, again, the power isn't at the top for Moreno, but his speed is definitely there. He's one of the fastest fighters, in my opinion, the fastest fighter in the UFC. Hits you before you even see it. One of the best boxers. In my opinion, one of the best boxers in flyweight as well. Very technical, very fast. So speed, I'm going to give it to Brandon Moreno. Fight IQ, I'm going to give it to John Jones. I think everyone can agree with this. John Jones has the best fight IQ in the UFC. He's the greatest of all time. He is the greatest of all time. You can't lie. He's the greatest fighter of all time in the UFC. Obviously, you can talk about steroids and things, but we're not going to be going over that just yet. The thing is with Jones, he knows what to do at the right time. So he knows, like, no matter who he's fighting, whether he's fighting a heavy grappler or a striker or a balanced fighter, he knows what to do at the right time, whether it be an oblique kick or a spinning elbow or he trips someone. Jones knows what to do at the right time. He outstrikes most strikers and outgrapples most grapplers as well. We've seen him face many strikers in his time. We've seen him face many grapplers, and he beats them at their own game, especially in his early career on the road to his title. When he first joined the UFC, he was destroying strikers and he was destroying grapplers. He knows what to do. And the thing that makes Jones smart is he studies a lot of fighters. He's made it very clear that he likes to study the people he's fighting. A lot of fighters don't do this, they just develop themselves, but Jones studies his fighters, which is a smart thing to do. I mean, he's never lost before because of it, and he allows you to see, like, he allows you to prepare for a certain opponent and a certain style. He's very, very smart, he's John Jones. Makes a lot of smart moves in the octagon, knows what to do at the right time. He's the greatest of all time because of his fight IQ, man. He's so knowledgeable, knows what to do. Like, you've got people like Michael Chandler who have negative fight IQ, which is why they always lose fights. Jones has positive fight IQ, very high IQ. And I think he's got the most in the current UFC. I think he's got the most fight IQ. I know I've said fight IQ about 50 times now, but fight IQ, going to Jones. And finally, cardio. I'm going to give it to Colby Covington. It's hard to say that this guy doesn't have the best cardio in the UFC. He can easily go 5 rounds. I mean, we've seen it against Kamaru Usman. We've seen it against Jorge Masvidal. Can easily go 5 rounds in Colby Covington. He's very, like, even in the Usman fight where he was getting battered, the first Usman fight where he broke his jaw, he was getting battered, but he didn't give up. He wouldn't stop or anything. He was just continue to go at Usman, kept going at him, kept fighting. It just shows that he's got cardio. Even in the Woodley fight, he was just there for 5 rounds, wouldn't slow down. The guy doesn't slow either. And to say that this guy's like a wrestler, most wrestlers tend to get tired because wrestling's so draining, but Colby Covington never really gets kind of affected by the wrestling, and he's always got high volume of the feet. If you look at him strike, no matter who he's striking, he hasn't got the most power, but he's definitely got high volume on the feet. If he's on the feet, he'll be swinging, or high volume. If he's on the if he's grappling, he'll be wrestling. So that doesn't make sense. But what I'm saying is the guy's always active, continues to fight when he gets battered. So you can argue that he's got a lot of heart. We've seen him go the distance with so many legends as well. Damian Maia, Robbie Lawler, Rafael dos Anjos, Brian Barberena. The guys, he knows what he can. Like, people call him a decision merchant, but Colby Covington, he's got some of the best cardio in the UFC. Some people may argue that it's Merab, but we've only really seen Merab have good cardio for one fight, which was the Pete Yan fight. We can't just base a fighter having good cardio for one fight. I'm going to give it to Covington. Always active. The same volume in round 1 as he does in round 5. Doesn't slow down. Could probably go 10 rounds. They say for Nate Diaz that Nate Diaz never loses. He just runs out of time. You can say that with Colby Covington. The guy never loses. He just runs out of time, man. He just runs out. I mean, to be fair, he doesn't really lose very often. I mean, the only person he's lost to in recent time is Kamaru Usman. But yeah, Colby Covington for me has the best cardio. Please let me know if you agree with this. Do you think the attributes are accurate or not? Please let me know, and thank you for watching.